All right, well, I think that I've got some good pointers now, so I appreciate that.
Cool. Okay.
Really appreciate that.
Great. You got your hair nice and short as well, Alan, I know.
Oh my God, my daughter cut it with the dog clippers. We're locked down.
I know. Well, my mother cut it a bit yesterday. Bless her. She was getting very annoyed with it, and my partner in Rwanda seems to think it's okay for now. So
it looks great, actually. It's better than mine. I might come round. And have your mum do mine.
If only you could. So I hope that helped. Anyway.
That's great. Thanks very much, Dan. We'll talk to you.
We'll keep in touch. Cheers.
Perfect. Thank you.
Bye. Yeah. Somehow. Anyway, so welcome. That was the end of a meeting that I had with Alan because, of course, I forgot to record the session with him. But I was saying to Alan that I would continue because others are not here and leave you some useful hints and tips. So, as I said in an email, do not try and take on the world. Nat has just joined me. Good afternoon. Anyway, if you're wondering about my background here, this is actually a visual representation of an entrepreneurial imagination center that we're developing in Rwanda. So I thought we might as well utilize the visuals online. Good afternoon, Nat and Alan. Hi.
Yes, hello.
Hi, hello. Can you hear me?
Yeah, very well.
Oh, good. Thank you.
So I was just with Alan Davis online, and he's now gone and left us. But so welcome. Good to hear you.
Thank you.
Good to hear you too.
Yeah.
I hope you can. I thought we'd do something a bit different in these social distancing lockdown world that we live in. So I haven't done a.
Well, I'm in China, so we're already behind it,
Oh, you're behind it. Well, you're on top of. You're
Yes.
down the mountain, the other side. Congratulations.
Yes.
Yes.
I heard Japan are actually thinking of closing 4 prefectures. So I think Tokyo and a few places in Hokkaido. So I think they thought they were over it, but it looks like they're going to deal with it now imminently. It's interesting times.
And Nat, where are you? Are you in UK or where are you?
I am now in the UK. I would normally be in Japan, which is why I'm having a bit of trying to get on. So I've usually I'm doing this course in Japan, but I've moved since then. So it's getting used to different time zones and when to submit things is different.
Yes.
In my brain's gone a little bit loopy on this stuff.
I'm sure. And whereabouts are you based in the UK?
I'm in London, so yeah.
Okay.
We are highly densely populated, and the parks are quite a ground for us to avoid. But yeah, it's quite worrying because I would prefer to be in a place like Scotland or Japan where we were before, where people are actually social distancing naturally rather than
Yes.
the way that we are. We'll walk past people here and they don't quite understand that there's a 2-meter rule, but in Japan you'd naturally have that anyway.
Yeah. Oh, I see. Culturally, yes.
Yeah.
Social distance is part of the norm there. Well, I'm in Norfolk, just outside Norwich. Half the year I spend in Rwanda, and when I'm in London, I'm a professor at University of Westminster in the heart of London, but obviously not now. So half the week I spend down there and half the week I'm with my parents. So I'm currently with my parents, which is good.
Lovely. Yeah. Norfolk was where we were supposed to be this weekend.
Oh, were you? Oh, well, you were. Well, it was very beautiful. The village was lovely. We walked up the road to the local shop and there was not much of a queue.
Oh, lucky you. Damn it, we should have been there.
Yeah. So, how's it going? How's the course going? How's the MBA project coming along? You've got a couple of days to submit.
I have challenges. I have
Okay.
challenges because I managed to get all the numbers for the experience, social, and the rest the parameters, but just want to understand if I need, from where do I need to get this all kind? I cannot manage with the numbers,
No.
the final numbers.
Yeah. Well, I think this particular section is much more critically descriptive, looking at what they are doing. So I think having now taught on this module for nearly 18 months now, on and off, you know, the model can be applied in quite a creative way. So look at the component parts of that model and see how they are being applied to your brand in a more qualitative basis.
So you mean that I don't need to go to all those averages and all those?
Well, if you want to, and if that's your world, then of course you can, but it's not necessary.
Okay,
I would
great,
encourage you
great.
to look much more at the themes qualitatively than looking at the themes quantitatively.
Okay, okay, got
I think
you.
that's
Okay,
that's
great,
where
that's great.
most projects have gone in the past and have been most successful, because you're looking at quite a small. I mean, you could look at engagements and so on, but it's very difficult to unpick the research based upon what you're seeing without interrogating it further, and you don't necessarily have access to all that data. So
Yes.
I think if you say, well, here's
so this was my
organization.
conflict.
Yeah, so well, hopefully that's one way to resolve the conflict, is think more qualitatively than quantitatively.
Okay, great, amazing. Okay, it's your job.
Yeah, and I just, you know, you're writing a report, so think about, to the reader, why are you using this? Don't assume the reader, i.e. me, knows what the model is. You know, I'd introduce the model, I'd say a bit
Yes.
about it and its value and also its limitations, and then seek to apply it to both of those organizations or brands that you are comparing.
Okay.
And I think also from the reader's perspective, you know, visual representation is very helpful. So take a screenshot of whatever it is where you're showing how the model is being applied in such a way by the brand.
Okay.
I mean,
Okay.
I'd be absolutely amazed and surprised if both of those brands knew that they had developed their social media along the lines that was being recommended by the academic. But so it's quite artificial. But in a way, what you're doing is you're trying to back engineer that model into the work that they are undertaking. So it's slightly artificial.
So, for example, for me, for the Toyota, for example, my experience, it's 121% because they have a lot of visuality, and the social is 60%. Epistemic, it's like 65%. The embodied, it's 43%. So, what do you mean? Is I should take it and translate it to a qualitative rather than to a figure? Yes.
Yeah, I think so.
Exactly what is it? Okay.
What are they doing? How are they presenting themselves in that way?
Okay.
Yeah. And show examples.
But yes. Okay.
And if you've got quant, then and you're comfortable with quant, and you've got some quant, then by all means include it, but do not feel that that's a necessity.
Okay, I got you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because all that people want to see is that, and this is quite useful practice for the dissertation, or certainly the dissertation phase coming later in the MBA, because it's about understanding the theoretical framework, in this case the one posited by Tafisa, and understanding how a theoretical framework can be applied in a certain context or contexts. So the more we get used to using academic frameworks in context, the more comfortable we will get when we come around to doing the dissertation.
Okay.
Okay.
Yes.
Welcome, Dave. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning.
Good morning, good afternoon, wherever we are in the world. Good evening.
Good evening.
Nat thinks it's evening, but she's now in the UK, so she's a bit confused.
Good afternoon.
Nat, does that help? I mean, what?
Yeah, I think from my perspective, it's more I'm getting my head around trying to how you display it, because obviously this is the first time that you're really fully comparing two companies, and trying to equally represent both sides, and how I would do that. I mean, we've got a very generous word count this week, which is good for me. But I don't obviously want to run away with that. But the use of tables and I guess where I'm trying to get what I'm trying to wrap my head around is when would I utilise sort of the SWOT analysis and PESTEL and all of that? Because from my perspective, I need to do those just to get sort of a background on what it is they're faced with, but that wouldn't necessarily be in something like this. But would you expect to see that background in this?
I mean, if it's useful for you, I don't necessarily think the PESTEL is that necessary. Looking at the macro environment, I mean, you could utilize the macro environment so that you could use some of that information for the introduction section later to set the scene.
Yeah,
I think you really need to focus in on the framework here, and a good way of doing it is maybe you're looking at firstly looking at one of the organizations and how they have applied the framework, and you include in there some visual images, some screenshots, so that the reader gets an appreciation of what you're talking about. And then you can look at the other brand. Hello? And then you can look at another brand. Hello? And then you can look at another brand and how that is applying the model. And then you could say, well, here's the strengths and here's the weaknesses of the way in which both models are being applied by both brands, and here are the opportunities, and here's the improvements, and here's where they could learn from each other.
Yeah, that sounds like a sensible way.
So gradually you're bringing it together. Yeah. So start with
good.
Brand A, brand B. Here's some strengths, here's some weaknesses, here's some opportunities, and here's some threats. And then, well, here's what both those brands could be learning from each other going forwards.
Yeah. Sounds good.
And always, you could then intersperse that with, okay, maybe I can drop in a citation here and a citation there and a citation here, just to show that there's some, academic kudos.
Yeah. Backing up my points. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, often when one writes a paper or writes a proposal, I write lots of funding proposals or lots of papers. I've got some research, but I might write it out first, and then I'll go back and fill in where those academic citations should be.
Yeah, that makes sense. I think that's how I end up doing it.
Great, good. Different people do it in different ways.
Yeah.
But,
it does vary depending on what I'm doing, but yeah, that's a lot of the time.
Good. So that's what I do. Like a funnel. Boom, bring it down, and then move on to then you can take reader into the next section of the paper.
Yeah, because I think I could easily run away with it, and I think that's a good structure to start with. So,
but you haven't got much time. I don't know how you guys do this, quite frankly.
I haven't started it, to be honest. So I've done some background reading, but I haven't actually started the essay.
Amazing.
There's
a lot to do. Yeah, a lot to do. Yeah. So
this is the first time that we've had this length of the essay.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Yeah. it's usually like at the most I think we've done maybe 750, 1,000 even, but not this amount. So it's going to be a challenge for me.
Yeah.
Okay.
White nights.
Basically as well. That's the other thing. So I could write that much. It's just whether it's useful in any way. That's the problem.
See how it goes. But you know, if you need to fill it in at the beginning with some context setting, and you need to talk about the model, the paper, the critique of the paper, the limitations. I think it's good to point out we're applying the model, but actually there are some limitations to the model.
Yeah.
Whether it's in terms of age or whether it's in terms of, well, it only really looked at Facebook or the sample size and so on. You know, I think it's good for a reader to have some health warning presented to them.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then moving forwards, then we're looking at the next stage at the literature review. And I think all this certainly helps for the dissertation stroke consultancy report phase.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's all good practice.
I'll remember that at whatever time in the morning it is that I stay up till to complete
Exactly.
this.
You will have to. It's all good practice.
Yes.
Good.
Okay.
Alon, is that okay for you?
Yes. I didn't start it. I'm accumulating all the data, the information. And I'm trying to figure out.
I know.
From which angle to.
Okay.
Okay.
But you're going to just focus, aren't you, on one of those ranges for Toyota, which we suggested in the email?
No. Yes, of course.
You can't take on all the product range. It's too much.
No. Also, track cycling. It's there.
And look at how they use Twitter. Look at how they use Facebook. Look at how they use YouTube channel. Look at how they use, all the channels at their disposal, really.
Yes, I will do so. I already did so. So here I'm prepared. Only the content is empty.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
Just fill it in. Dave, you've been very quiet listening. I hope you can hear us.
Yes, I'm listening, and I'm basically getting a lot of my questions answered through third party. So I'm getting a better understanding of how it needs to be laid out.
Super. Great. It's the first time I've ever done this with an MBA group, so I'm really quite pleased.
Yeah, it's very helpful.
Good. Well, as I'm a prophet University of Westminster in London, mostly teaching undergrads and master's students. We went online 2 weeks ago, and we started to really play around with online sessions. So I'm in the zone now.
There's no going back now.
Yeah, there isn't. Well, Nat will know. I mean, one of the people I was so privileged on Thursday. We had an online entrepreneurship degree session, and Levi Roots of Reggae Source joined us for an interview, which was for my students quite, for somebody who started with nothing and now has a $35 million pound brand. It was so exciting for him to be online and talking to our students who have now gone back to their families around the world. That was brilliant. So I'm really enjoying this experience.
Yeah, that is great, isn't it?
Yes.
You can just turn a lecture into a program. Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm on LBC. but with no dodgy callers who are all experts.
They're very entertaining though, aren't they?
They are, but I think that's why I'm always badgering on about academic research and the need to include peer-reviewed research, because I'm a practitioner come academic, and I'm still developing projects in the practitioner world. I run an NGO in Rwanda, so I need funding, but it's always important to remember that, well, our view is just our view. It might count for something if it's about the subject matter that we are involved in, but if we're not involved in digital marketing on a day-to-day basis or other aspects, it's always good to base our ideas upon some semblance of some expert somewhere in the world.
Yeah, does give it a bit more weight.
It gives it a bit more weight, doesn't it? I don't want to go into a boardroom or a funding and they say, well, why is this a great idea? And you say, well, it's a great idea, isn't it? It's my idea. Should be doing it this way. Okay. Yeah, bye. So I'm constantly telling students to do this, whether they're postgrads or undergrads. You've got to, demonstrate why, how. So, yeah. So I hope that helps. I mean, if you want, we can have another session in another week's time about the week 5 literature review.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
think that
that'd
would
be
be
great.
useful, especially once this one's
Let's
once
get
we
this
get
out of the
feedback from
way.
this one.
Yeah.
We'd get more of an understanding of, you know, I guess what is required for
Yeah.
the next one. So that would be useful.
Okay, good. And that one, although week 5 is not required and it's only formative feedback, I think if you can submit something rather than nothing, it doesn't have to be perfect. It again is good practice for constructing a literature review.
Yeah. Yeah.
Cool. Okay,
That's good.
guys. Great.
Okay.
Right. Thanks for that, Daryl.
Pleasure.
Appreciate your time.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
All right. Take care,
Cheers.
guys.
Take care.
Cheers, Dave. Thank
Bye.
you. Bye, bye,
Okay.
bye, bye, bye.
Bye.